Opening our list is the absolute benchmark of modern 3D printing, the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon. It changed the industry with AI monitoring and speed. Let's roll the review.
I'll admit, I was skeptical. For years, 3D printing meant tinkering, leveling beds with a piece of paper, unclogging nozzles, and praying over the first layer like it was a fragile ritual. Then I unboxed the X1 Carbon. I didn't start with a calibration cube. I threw a 14-hour multicolor print at it straight out of the box, a complex model with overhangs that would usually make my Prusa sweat. I hit print from my phone while sitting on the couch and went to bed. The next morning, it was done. Perfect layers, zero spaghetti. It felt less like using a workshop tool and more like using a microwave. That is the magic and the danger of this machine. Design and build quality. The X1C looks like it belongs in a design studio, not a garage. The aluminum and glass enclosure is sleek, rigid, and surprisingly compact for its build volume. Unlike the bed slingers, like the Prusa MK4 or Ender 3, where the bed moves back and forth, this is a CoreXY machine. The bed only moves up and down. This makes it incredibly stable at high speeds. However, premium doesn't mean quiet. This machine is loud. The chamber fan sounds like a small hairdryer, and when it's moving at full speed, the vibration is noticeable. If you plan to keep this in your home office, you will need noise-canceling headphones or a closet to put it in. Key features in action. The AMS, Automatic Material System. If you buy the X1C, get the combo with the AMS. It's not just for multicolor prints, it's for laziness. I keep PLA, PETG, and support material loaded simultaneously. When a spool runs out, it can automatically switch to a backup spool. The catch, it hates cardboard spools, like brands like Overture or Polymaker. The rollers slip or cardboard dust gums up the gears. You'll find yourself wrapping spool edges in electrical tape or printing plastic adapter rings, a primitive fix for such a high-tech machine. LiDAR and AI detection. The printer uses a LiDAR sensor to scan the first layer and calibrate flow. In practice, this is 90% effective. It has saved me from a few failed prints by pausing when it detected a blob or spaghetti. However, it occasionally throws false positives on textured PEI plates, forcing you to resume the print manually. It's cool tech, but don't trust it blindly. The poop chute. To change colors, the printer cuts the filament, purges the old color, and wipes the nozzle. It creates little nuggets of waste plastic that shoot out the back. For a multicolor model, you can end up with more waste than actual product. It is shocking the first time you see the pile of plastic poop behind your desk. Performance and daily reality. Speed versus quality. The speed is addictive. I printed a standard benchy boat in 17 minutes. But here's the reality. At ludicrous speeds, the parts are weaker and the finish is matte rather than glossy. For functional parts, I actually slow it down to typical speeds similar to a tuned Prusa to ensure layer adhesion. Engineering materials. This is where the carbon in the name matters. I tested it with PA6CF, or nylon carbon fiber, and PC, or polycarbonate. The hardened steel nozzle and extruder gears handle abrasive filaments without chewing themselves up. Experience: with the engineering plate and a layer of glue stick, nylon prints surprisingly well. However, physics still applies. Large nylon parts will warp if you don't preheat the chamber properly. The chamber gets warm, about 50 degrees C, but it doesn't have an active heater. So for massive ABS nylon parts, you may still fight warping on the corners. Limitations and trade-offs. The walled garden. This is the Apple of 3D printers. The parts are proprietary. If a nozzle clogs badly, you aren't just swapping a cheap brass tip, you're likely swapping the whole hot end assembly. It's easy to do, 2 screws and 2 plugs, but it locks you into their ecosystem. Customer support. This is the biggest red flag. In my experience, and based on recent community reports, support response times are slow, often taking 3 to 7+ days for a meaningful reply. If this is a mission-critical machine for a business, you need to buy spare parts before you need them because you can't rely on overnight support. Maintenance. Despite the no tinkering claim, you still have maintenance. The carbon rods need cleaning, do not grease them, and the belts need tensioning eventually. I also found the PTFE tubes wear out faster than expected due to the constant friction of the AMS loading-unloading. Final verdict. The Bambu Lab X1 Carbon is currently the benchmark for consumer 3D printing. It has made my other printers gather dust simply because it removes the friction between having an idea and holding the part. Buy this if you value your time more than your money. You want multicolor capabilities or easy support interface material. Using PLA support for PLA prints is a game changer. You need to print abrasive engineering materials like carbon fiber nylon out of the box. Skip this if. Noise is a deal breaker. It is too loud for a bedroom or quiet office. You are on a budget. The Bambu Lab P1S offers 90% of the performance for significantly less money. You lose the LiDAR and nicer screen, which frankly you can live without. You demand open source. If you want to modify every aspect of your machine firmware, stick with a Voron or a Prusa.
Next up is Creality's massive answer to the market, the K2 Plus combo. It brings a huge build volume and multicolor printing to the CoreXY race. Here is my breakdown.
I spent 3 weeks trying to make the Creality K2 Plus combo my primary production workhorse, and I realized something almost immediately. This isn't just a competitor to the popular flagship models, it's a declaration of war on the small build plate. There is one specific hardware choice in this machine that makes it a dream for industrial prototyping, but a potential nightmare for casual hobbyists. And I'll explain exactly who should stay away after we look at what this machine actually delivers. Design and build. The first thing you notice isn't the features, it's the sheer mass. At 38.5 kilograms for the combo, this isn't a desk printer unless your desk is reinforced steel. Chassis. Creality moved away from thin extrusions. The K2 Plus uses a die-cast aluminum matrix frame. It feels incredibly rigid, which is necessary when you have a tool head flying at 600 millimeters per second. The build plate. You get a massive 350 by 350 by 350 millimeter volume. For context, that's nearly 2.5 times the usable volume of a Bambu X1 Carbon. The bed itself is a 5 millimeter thick aluminum alloy plate that stays remarkably flat even when heated to its 120 degrees Celsius limit. Ergonomics. The 4.3-inch touchscreen is responsive, though the user interface still feels a bit more cluttered than the most polished competitors. But here's the thing, while the polycarbonate panels and heavy frames scream premium, the sheer size means it's a space hog. You lose the cute desktop appliance vibe for a machine that looks like it belongs in a machine shop. Key features, performance versus hype. Creality is pushing 2 big upgrades here, the CFS or Creality Filament System and active chamber heating. The CFS multi-material system. In my testing, the CFS is a massive leap over older solutions. It supports up to 4 spools and features radio frequency identification for auto-identification of Creality filaments. I was halfway through a 14-hour multicolor print when the green spool ran out. The CFS automatically switched to the backup spool of the same material without me touching a button. It didn't skip a beat. That's the moment the K2 Plus earned its keep in my studio. Active chamber heating. Most enclosed printers just trap heat from the bed. The K2 Plus has a dedicated 60 degrees Celsius active heater. I tested this by printing a full-sized automotive intake manifold in ASA. In a room resting at 20 degrees Celsius, the chamber held a steady 59 degrees Celsius. The result? Zero corner lifting. Power management and thermals. This machine is a power-hungry beast. The draw? With a 1200-watt rated power supply, you'll see significant spikes when the bed and chamber heater kick in simultaneously. Thermal performance. During a 48-hour torture test with carbon fiber nylon, the tool head reached 350 degrees Celsius without heat creep issues. The Unicorn quick swap nozzle design kept the cold end at a manageable 45 degrees Celsius. Noise. It's rated at 45 decibels or less at 300 millimeters per second. However, when those dual auxiliary fans kick in for PLA at 600 millimeters per second, it sounds like a small jet taking off. Ecosystem and long-term value. Repairability. Unlike some competitors who lock you into a proprietary black box, the K2 Plus is surprisingly open. Nozzles are roughly $13, and most parts are user replaceable with standard hex wrenches. Total cost of ownership. Between the base price and essential accessories like extra nozzles and filament, your initial $1,500 investment will likely reach $2,600 over 3 years of high-volume production. The competition battle. When I put the Creality K2 Plus against the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon, the trade-offs are clear crystal. The Bambu offers a more polished, it-just-works software experience. However, the K2 Plus wins on scale and material science. For large-scale functional parts, the 350mm bed and active chamber heating are mandatory. You're essentially choosing between refined ease of use and industrial-grade capability. Unexpected strengths. What surprised me most was the step servo motors. Usually, high-speed printers use standard motors that vibrate at certain frequencies. The K2 Plus uses closed-loop servos. Even at an acceleration of 30,000 millimeters per second squared, the movement system is quieter, and the ghosting on the prints is virtually non-existent. It's the quietest movement system I've tested on a large machine. Limitations, the bitter truth. Here's the reality. The software is the weakest link. Creality Print 5.0 still has occasional bugs with multicolor purging. The filament waste can sometimes fail to clear the chute, leading to a jam. Here's that design decision I mentioned at the start. Creality chose a quick swap integrated nozzle. It's brilliant for maintenance, but it means you're locked into their proprietary unicorn nozzle ecosystem. You can't just buy a cheap $2 nozzle from a third party. If these specific units go out of stock, your printer becomes a very heavy paperweight. The final verdict, buy or skip. Buy this if you are a professional who needs to print large, functional parts in materials like ABS or nylon. You are tired of slicing models into multiple pieces just to fit them on a standard bed. You want a machine that allows you to reach in and replace a part yourself. Skip this if you are a hobbyist in a small apartment. The size and noise are overkill for printing small figures. You want an experience where you never have to look at a setting. The more polished competitors still lead in software. The lack of third-party nozzle support is a deal-breaker for your long-term budget.
Closing this top is the Prusa CORE One. Legendary open-source reliability meets a fully enclosed, blazing fast, high-end architecture. Let's see it in action.
I didn't start my testing with a benchmark Benchy. Instead, I threw the Prusa CORE One straight into the deep end, a 16-hour print of a functional ABS mounting bracket that had warped on every other printer I own. I hit print, walked away, and woke up the next morning to a geometrically perfect part. That's the hook here. There is no AI spaghetti detection dancing on a screen, and it doesn't play a song when it finishes. It just quietly dominates the materials that usually give hobbyists nightmares. After years of flashy, smart printers that sometimes feel like fragile appliances, the CORE One feels like a return to engineering sanity, but it's not without some baffling design choices. Design and build quality. The first thing you notice is the footprint. It's deceptively compact. Prusa calls the frame an exoskeleton, and it feels distinct from the plastic-clad cubes we're used to. It's raw steel, rigid as a tank, and heavy. It fits on my cramped workbench better than my MK4 did because it goes up rather than sprawling out. However, the fit and finish has a split personality. The steel frame screams industrial tool, but the side panels are held in by plastic rivets that feel surprisingly cheap. I understand the easy maintenance argument, you can pop them out with a screwdriver, but on a $1,200 machine, they feel like a shortcut. The door is solid though, and the reversible hinge is a blessing for awkward desk setups. Key features in action. The heated chamber that actually works. This is the killer feature. Unlike printers that just trap heat, the CORE One actively manages it. I set the chamber to 55 degrees Celsius for a batch of ASA parts, and it held that temperature rock steady. The difference in layer adhesion is palpable. My parts didn't just look better, they were structurally stronger. Conversely, for PLA, the rear vents open up to keep things cool. I printed PLA with the door fully closed, usually a recipe for heat creep and clogs, and had zero issues thanks to the active ventilation.
CoreXY kinematics and Nextruder. If you're coming from a bed slinger like the MK3 or MK4, the speed bump here is noticeable. It's about 20% faster in practice, but the real win is stability. Tall, thin prints that used to wobble on a moving bed are dead still here. The Nextruder continues to be my favorite extrusion system on the market. The load cell sensor for the first layer is practically magic. I swapped nozzles 3 times during testing, and I never once had to calibrate a Z offset manually. It just taps the bed and goes. Repairability first. This isn't a feature you see on a spec sheet, but it matters. When I wanted to check the belt tension, I didn't have to break plastic tabs or peel off glued rubber. Everything is accessible. It respects your time as a mechanic, not just as a user. Performance and daily reality. In my daily workflow, the Core One became the reliable one. While my other fast printers were throwing errors or needing glue stick reapplication, the Core One chewed through spool after spool. PLA to PTG, flawless. The print quality is slightly better than the MK4S, mostly due to the elimination of vertical artifacts, or VFA, thanks to the CoreXY motion system. ABS to ASA to PC, this is where it shines. I printed a large polycarbonate gear that usually delaminates. On the Core One, it came out solid. The active chamber heating does what passive enclosures simply can't. However, the smart features feel a generation behind. The camera is usable. It takes a frame every few seconds and needs good external light. Compared to the smooth, high frame rate streaming of a Bambu Lab X1C, it feels like a webcam from 2010. It's fine for checking did it fail, but you won't be making time-lapse content with it. Limitations and trade-offs. Let's address the elephant in the room, the price. At $1,299 assembled, you are paying a premium for the Prusa name and support. You can get a Bambu Lab P1S for nearly half the price that prints just as fast. Also, the user experience isn't as polished for beginners. Setting up the Wi-Fi felt clunky compared to the QR code scanning simplicity of competitors. And while I love the open-source nature, I did run into a crash detection error that required me to fiddle with belt tensioning more than I'd like on a pre-assembled unit. It's a machine that rewards a little bit of knowledge, whereas others try to hide the mechanics entirely. Final verdict. The Prusa CORE One is a 3D printer for people who want a tool, not a toy. It trades the wow factor of LiDAR and AI for the quiet confidence of industry-leading reliability and repairability. Buy this if you print engineering materials like ABS, ASA, or PC regularly and need dimensionally accurate parts without warping. You value long-term repairability and want a machine you can service easily in 5 years. You are already in the Prusa ecosystem and want a compact CoreXY machine that shares parts with your MK4. Skip this if you strictly print PLA for cosplay or toys. A Bambu Lab P1S or A1 will save you money and do the job just as well. You need multicolor printing right now. The MMU3 support is coming but isn't integrated like an AMS system yet. You want a plug-in and never touch a screw appliance.